So, got it. Okay, so today's January the 5th. This is our first annual board meeting for our photographic club. And I'm just going to go kind of review the agenda, and I want to rearrange this a little bit so that I can turn it over to Victor at some point. So for order of this meeting, we will review the minutes and get those approved. We'll review the financial report and the audit report. We'll have a report from Frank and Suzanne, and then we will talk about the awards, and we have a vote that we need to take care of on the awards for 2021. And then I will turn the meeting over to Victor as the 2022 president for him to finish. We'll do the PSA update with Dennis, and then any other business. And I think he sent some things to you, Holly, that he wanted to talk about. There's one more thing that I had added to the agenda. And it's not on this agenda that I printed, but one thing that we need to talk about is, and get approval from the board, which I think we can do today, is to take care of the award for the awards for 2022 monthly meetings. I'll have to talk about that. I'm going to go back to the top, and do I have a motion from anyone to approve the previous quarter's minutes?
I'll motion.
Okay, and a second? Sharon seconded. Holly first. Okay, everybody that approves, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the minutes from the last quarter are approved. Sharon, I'm going to turn it to you for the financial report, and you are muted. Sharon, you're muted. You're muted. Unmute yourself.
Over here.
There you go. You got it. Okay. You review the financial report.
December 1st, we had $2,391.37 in the bank. We had a total of $325 worth of dues come in during the month of December and 19 cents of interest. So we had $2,716.56 at the end of that. We had no expenses in December. So our starting total for this month is $2,716.56. I have a couple of Venmo dues that have come in the last couple of days. There's a few people that haven't paid, and Beverly sent out, I believe, a reminder to people, which is why I've been getting some in the last couple of days. I did have one, Barbara Shirley, is that somebody that we have? Yes. Who's, when she sent hers in, she checked on Venmo that she was getting services or goods in for this $30. So Venmo took out 67 cents because they charge companies who are selling things. So maybe we need to let people know they shouldn't be checking any boxes about businesses. We're not a business. We don't sell services. We don't sell goods. And so we just lose that 67 cents. So I will send her personally an email and just tell her that next year when she pays her dues to not check any boxes.
Okay. Yeah, it's too bad we can't send them invoices through Venmo so that it is set up the way you want it.
Yeah.
Nice, wouldn't it? All right. Anything else?
Not from me. I don't think so, unless people have questions.
Okay. Any questions? Right. Let's move on to the financial audit report. And Frank is here, so I don't have to read the email. I'll let him take care of that.
Okay. So Suzanne and I took a look at the financial reports from last year. We looked at 4 months all the way through the income and the expenses and so forth. And then we looked at from month to month, ending balance, beginning balance next month, and so forth, and found no errors, no discrepancies, anything. So we are 100% completely satisfied with Sharon's work. Thank you, Sharon, for doing great work. And it's a pleasure for you to make it so easy for us to go through these financial numbers. So thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Great job. Okay, so, and I see that Albert made it. Hey, Albert, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Good. All right, so now we are down to the awards section that we need to discuss. The first one is the image of the year, and everyone in the club is voting on that as we speak. So we will have that by the meeting next week. The second one that I want to talk about is the photographer of the year. I have been diligently tracking everyone's monthly awards, all of the PSI scores of 9 or above, as well as any exceptional recognition that PSI has submitted back to us for any of our photographers. And the person in 2021 that had the most 9s, he had 6 9s plus an honorable mention in the April Interclub competition. And we selected him for our advertising on our flyers for marketing, is Eric Bowden. I think I said that right. Eric Bowden is going to be the photographer of the year for 2021. Last,
Melissa,
hey,
just one question. It just occurred to me. Is there anyone in the running that if they win the December image would create a tie?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
We've already voted on December. We're voting
Yeah.
on January right now.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad.
Yeah. So I waited purposely until our last meeting was over to finalize all the records. I wanted to make sure I had the last records in. And interestingly enough, for the December PSI scores, we did not get 1 9 out of any of the photos that were submitted. It was a really tough grade. We had some 7s and a couple of 8s, but we didn't have any 9s in December.
I got a 6.
Yeah, I mean,
I noticed,
Yeah.
I noticed that too, that the grading was very
tough,
tough, yes.
very hard grading.
She did give a lot of
Feedback.
suggestions and feedback.
Mhm.
She
She
is a
did
tough
give a lot of
grader.
feedback and suggestions, and that was good. I looked at
Quite a few
the
8s.
scores and went, wow.
Was she respectful?
Yes, it was
Yes.
respectful. There wasn't, I didn't see anything mean at all.
Okay.
I should say
And
something.
it came
here.
across
I
as
know her
suggestions.
personally.
Yeah, it came across as suggestions as opposed to being critical. At least the stuff that I can recall, I didn't see anything that was critical or mean-spirited, but it was a very tough grade. It's one of those teachers, you go to their class and you know you better do your homework.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I know Lucy very well because I worked with her for a couple years, and she's a very nice person, but I've never known her as a judge or anything like that, but I don't think she would have ever said anything critical or, I mean, you know.
No,
Yeah.
there wasn't anything critical in any of her comments, and I read every one of them.
So it wasn't the same judge we had a year
No.
or so that was just rude, right?
No.
No.
She
No.
definitely not that type of person.
Yeah, no, nothing like that at all. She was very respectful. And as I said, everything that I read came across, at least to me, it came across as being a suggestion that you can do to improve, as opposed to somebody saying something mean about your work.
I liked her feedback. I
Right.
got an 8.
Huh?
I said, I liked her
Like I said,
feedback.
I've
I
known
got
her
an
for
8.
a long time.
Yeah.
You didn't give me any slack, I guarantee you.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the way it's supposed to be.
that's right.
Now,
Yeah,
may I-
ultimately. Yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
I was just gonna ask, so Eric gets a free year membership, is that correct?
Let's see.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
$100 gift certificate. And by the way, Victor has the gift certificates for these annual awards. Okay, so that's one done. The next one that we need to talk about is the member of the year, and this one the board votes on. Okay, we have 2 nominees. They're both on the board. One is Sharon, and then Holly has been nominated. And so what I would like to do is for everyone on the board, except for Sharon and Holly, because you can't vote for yourself, and it just cancels each other out, is to privately email me your vote for either Sharon or Holly for the member of the year. Now, let me read, just as a review, what the member of the year award is. Okay, it says the underlying concept of this award is to select a member of the club who's contributed his or her time and effort to the success of our club over a year or more. It can be someone who has served in several board positions or coordinator roles over a period of several years, or it can be someone who's contributed a great deal of time, productivity, and enthusiasm in a relatively short period of time. The member of the year service award exemplifies an effort to help improve the success of our club. Any member may nominate another member of the club for this award. The recipient of this award is chosen by the board of directors from a list of members submitted for nomination. The winner is given a certificate or other prize and will receive next year's membership at no cost. So again, membership at no cost and another a gift certificate as well. But since both members are on the board and we'd like it to be a surprise, just email me right after the meeting, or you can send it now if you'd like, and I'll check after the meeting for the votes from the rest of the board. So Sharon and Beverly and Victor and Albert. Victor, you'll probably have to tell me or email me tomorrow or in a couple days.
It's going to be next week before I can.
Okay, before Monday? Or you can just tell me after the meeting,
Okay.
okay? I guess we should have talked about that earlier, right? All right, and then the last recognition is the President's Award. And I'm still thinking about that a little bit. And I would like, if anybody has any input from the board, then you're welcome to send that to me, but I'll have that by Monday as well. So that pretty much concludes everything I have, other than I had added, we need to purchase certificates, gift certificates again, the $25 gift certificates for our monthly recognition. So I guess I can make a motion. Can we get approval tonight to do that so that we have those available for our Monday meeting starting Monday, or January meeting starting this week, next week?
Are you making the motion?
Yes, please. And everyone that approves of that, say aye.
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 Okay, good.
And I seconded it.
Okay, good.
And I'll send an email to Amanda because I've been working with her on this in the past.
Thank you, Sharon.
It's a $25 gift. That's not changing, and we can do the same kind of setup we had this year, right? Nobody had any problems with it, right?
No.
Okay,
That should be a-
that sounds good.
Yeah, that should be a $300 expenditure for the $1225 codes.
Right. So I can turn it over to you, Victor or Dennis. The only other thing I have is the PSA update on this agenda.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to I'd like to thank everybody for showing up tonight. And before we get started with the rest, Holly, could you pause the recording for just a second? Okay, so I had emailed Holly a list of items that I wanted to touch on, okay? And I'd like to go through those as far as how I would like to try to chart the going forward in 2022 for the club, okay? Holly, what was the first item I emailed you?
The first item was adding a print/digital/ comp and education night.
Okay, I want to get a census of everyone on the board, what your consensus is to whether or not you feel the club could support a second meeting night that would be primarily geared toward another a print competition, an educational night, or a digital competition that was more formal than what we do now. Okay, so the way I envision something like that working is a second Monday night selected somewhere during the month, obviously not the very next week, maybe the week after that, to where 1 month it'd be an educational night. The next month it might be a print night, to where people that wanted to participate in a print competition would come and be judged, kind of like competitions that we've seen, try to come up with 2 to 3 judges, get a culmination of the score using the same scoring system that's used by PSA. And then providing, ribbons or certificates, and if we can work on getting some more donations, prizes as well. Okay. And then another night, then the next month could be a digital competition. Okay, all geared toward trying to improve our photography. So I'm gonna open it up to everybody and just go around. Holly, if you can kind of guide that, since you can see everything,
Sure.
guide the discussion on that. I just want to get feedback from everybody.
Does anyone want to go first? Well, my thoughts on it, this is Holly speaking, my thoughts on it. For me, I wouldn't have time to come to a second meeting, and I'm still right at the moment doing more Zoom than in-person stuff. But I think it's something to explore later. Dominic graduates from high school in May, so I'll have more time in the summer and fall. My life won't be quite as busy. So maybe later in the year I could do something like that. I think that definitely education, that people are definitely interested in learning more about specific topics. So, and that's something we had when we were at the senior center. We had some speakers, like maybe average every third month come in and do a presentation, and everyone seemed to really enjoy that.
Okay.
Anybody else? Melissa?
There was a Yeah, there was a TV show on many years ago out in California. It's called Talk About Pictures. And they would bring on a photographer and they would just, for the half hour, they'd talk about that photographer's work. And I thought about, could we do that, something like that here with us, to say, either pull some professional photos off the internet or have somebody use some of the photos that we've got on our website and talk about them. How were they composed? How were they lit? How could they have been better? What was the photographer thinking when they made that photo? Maybe something like that would help folks get better in improving their skills at photography. I think that would be less work for than a competition where we had to judge and vote and all that. Just my thoughts.
Okay,
This is Melissa, and I'm going to kind of second Holly's. I don't personally have enough time to add another night every month. I could see potentially once in a while that I might be interested in doing something like that. And of course, the education is much more of an interest to me than another competition, particularly a print competition. I find that oftentimes I put the money and the effort, oftentimes more effort than money, into doing a print competition where they award ribbons for the first 3 spots and you don't even get any feedback from your work. And to me, that feels like I've stopped participating in New Braunfels Art League for that reason. I actually won an honorable mention the first year that I participated, and I have participated in their the one that's open to everybody. I'm not a member of that organization, but the one that's open to anybody 2 years following that. And I just feel like I don't understand what they're thinking in how they choose the winners, and you don't get feedback back because they're not a photography focused organization in the first place. And so to me, it's not worth my time or my money to participate in those types of, I would need some feedback in order to want to participate in a print competition.
okay, that's good feedback.
This is Albert. I kind of agree with everyone else too, as far as 2 in 1 month can be challenging. I know that I basically only have weekends, and every other weekend I have my kids, so it's a little challenging with work. But maybe something quarterly would be more easier on everybody.
Okay, well, just let me throw this out there. I listed 3 things: a digital competition, a print competition, and then an educational program. And that with the idea that, okay, those would be quarterly because you
Mhm.
wouldn't do all 3 in the same month.
Right.
Okay. So I kind of envision people that want the education would once a quarter come to an education night. People that were interested in printing would come once a quarter for a print competition. And people that wanted feedback on a digital print would come once a quarter for that. But that's just a night. So it's not that everyone has to be there.
Right.
Just people that are interested in it was the thought process behind it. But anyway, that's good feedback. I appreciate it.
I also have to say that we're doing a lot of competition within the club and within PSA. We're actually having trouble getting people for the next PSA competition. I know that that's what Dennis is going to say when he's given his chance. We don't have a lot of new photographs to share with PSA for the next competition. I'm not sure competition is what people are looking for. It's certainly not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for ways to improve the kinds of photography I want to do, not the kinds of photography other people want me to do. And I know Dennis and I would have trouble getting to another meeting a month.
Okay, so what kind of photography do you want to do, Sharon?
Well, I am more interested in macro. I'm more interested in nature photography, but that's probably not what everybody's interested in. I think, I think a lot of people might be interested in some classes on lighting, for instance. I think that's an issue that's for all of us, whether you're doing nature photography or you're doing photography on your kitchen table. I think there's a lot of topics that people could give you that they were interested in having education on. As much as I want more education, I'm not going to do it every month though, because I just would never be able to. Especially in the
Keep
evening,
up.
things are really difficult for us.
No, I
Mhm. Yeah,
understand.
it's hard to keep up.
Like I
Yeah.
said, that education would only be like once a quarter.
Well,
Okay,
Miss Beverly,
okay,
I think I would be more interested in the education to improve what I'm doing and maybe get ideas of different things I can do, because mostly I've done nature, but there's other things that I know. I was looking in an article, they were talking more like abstract, which sounded kind of interesting, but I'm not so much into the competition. I'm kind of like, I like the feedback, but like I said, I think I'm more education, and I'm not sure I could do it every month, but quarterly I probably could.
okay.
Should we survey the members and see what everybody else's interest is?
No, I wouldn't say do that yet. I just wanted to get feedback from the board. Because obviously without support from the board, it's not going to happen. So I just want to get everybody's thoughts and feelings on it as I draft up something. And I think Holly was right. I mean, we're still in a Zoom mode. Okay.
Mhm.
So, it's not like the middle of January, we're going to have another meeting. Okay. No, this is something for when things get back to normal and we can actually see people face to face. So, all right. So it's still, we'll probably have another board meeting before we're able to think about bringing something to the table to work with. I just wanted to get your thoughts and ideas.
Well, we had initially, when we went to Zoom, and we were going to review assignment and then every other month do color or black and white. So we had time for something else. If we wanted to have a guest speaker or somebody present something even within the club. And we ended up sometimes not having very many submissions. So it was easy to cover all three categories. And we've been done before 8:30 many nights. And so we still have some time to add something to our monthly meeting. It's something to keep in mind, as if we find, an educational topic or someone who's interested in presenting something, that we could sandwich it with our monthly meeting.
What do you think the number of photos? I guess I could go back and look at the previously recorded meetings and see which ones only run for an hour or an hour and a half, and then see how many photos were submitted for those nights, because that's what drives it. I mean,
Mhm.
when we first started, the number of photos that were being submitted drastically increased, and over time it's dropped back down to I forget how far back we got to go to see where it was this number. So yeah, going from where we had a lot of photos to cover and not enough time to cover them all, to now we're back to a number of photos that we can cover within that amount of time or less. So I guess trying to figure out what that number is could give us an idea. We need to prepare extra material to work with.
Right. For example, January, we have 27 photos altogether in all categories. The assignment as well as color and black and white. And there's been a couple other months where we've had 30 or less where we've been able to submit them all to PSA as opposed to just, you know, the assignment photos and one or the other. So it's been light lately.
Okay. And I have a theory to why it's been light, and I'll talk to that when that topic comes up. Okay. So has everybody had a chance to say their piece on this?
Suzanne, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I'm in agreement with other people that have vocalized. I would be interested in quarterly education versus competition, especially like you said, it's difficult to know when we would actually be able to meet up in person because I've gone 2 years not getting hit with the virus and I tested positive on Monday. So I'm very thankful we were able to Zoom tonight and I didn't have to meet up in person.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Okay. Well, thanks for the feedback, everybody. Holly, what's the next topic?
Images to PSA.
Okay. This is something that I would like to do moving forward in 2022. Okay. And that I would like to continue to send images to PSA, but I'd like to kind of change the way we do it. I would like all the assignment photos to go, and then photos that people request to be sent, okay, as opposed to just taking what they submitted for black and white and for color, okay, because over the last 6 months, I've had occasion to meet folks for coffee now and then, okay, and I've had quite a few members that attended those coffees bring up to me that one of the things that they find discouraging is, they tend to just submit a photo to black and white or color. I mean, they spend time thinking about what they're doing and try to submit their best work for the assignment photo, but then because they run out of time or something like that, they just grab a photo and submit it for black and white and color, and they never really intended for it to be evaluated or anything like that, okay? And so I think it would serve us better to assignment photos. I would hope that everyone is submitting an assignment photo that they feel is their best work. And I think that would help us to get those evaluated. And then I would defer to anyone on the board that after you review the color in black and white, if you think they are noteworthy, then we could reach out to that artist and ask them if it's okay to submit it to PSA for evaluation. And then at the meetings, I'd like to offer to everyone, if you have a photo that you're working with that you would like to get evaluated, send it to us. It doesn't have to be an assignment photo. It doesn't have to be a color or black and white photo. But if you want something evaluated, send it to us and we'll send it up for evaluation. And then part 2 of that is when the evaluations do come back, I would like to stop posting the feedback and the scores on Facebook, okay? And provide that feedback individually to each artist. And if they want to share that, then they can, okay? So if, I don't know if I explained that intelligently enough for you to totally understand it. But if we could go around the table and get your feedback on that.
Okay,
Alright.
this is Holly. I'll go first. I think we could make it clearer in the meetings that color and black and white are being evaluated by PSA. I know since we started doing this last year, I'm very careful with what I pick for color PSA based on what was evaluated the previous month, if it's going to be in either or category. And I pick something that I want to be evaluated. And I'm presuming most people do that. So I'm not sure who's in your ear about not happy with looking at those pictures, but I think it's sort of a known factor at this point that all the pictures are getting looked at by a judge. So if they don't want it looked at, they shouldn't submit it. That's my opinion. That's going to create a whole lot more work having a separate submission process for PSA when we're already doing the monthly images. So I think if we're just really clear with, hey, this month PSA looked at assignment and color. So next month, if you want a black and white photos, judged, then really be careful with what you submit because it will go to PSA. And the color may as well if we have a room for it, like we've had this low, participation. So I don't know. I think that may be too much work, extra work. That's not necessary if we just are really clear with what you're giving us is going to be judged, and don't send it if you don't want it judged. I think that would be an easier path personally. I think it's a good idea to provide feedback individually from PSA because some of the scores are hurtful, harsh. But I get a lot of value out of reading the judge's comments. And I think other people do too. I was providing feedback to everybody before the meetings when I was going through galleries and like something really struck me or thought would be cool to do something different. But it took a lot of time. And then sometimes people would comment back and then you would know it was their picture before voting ended. So I stopped doing that because of that. But I think everybody's hungry for feedback. So, maybe there's a way to send it to them individually and then ask, hey, is it okay to share publicly or not? And if they give a yes, then I can post it on Facebook for them or something. I don't know. But then the people that aren't on Facebook would never see everybody's comments. And there are some members that are not on Facebook.
Right. Okay.
I don't know. But I think it's a good idea because there sometimes, if somebody may have hurt feelings or be embarrassed or I don't know. It just depends on where people are on their journey and how harsh the comment or the score is.
Okay.
This is Melissa, and I agree with pretty much everything Holly said. As you were explaining it, I understand what you're trying to say, but I was sitting here in my mind thinking, who's going to manage that? Because it does sound like so much more work than what we're already doing. And I don't know. I mean, I know myself, I'm stepping back this year just because it's more work than I have the time for. And Holly does so much more than even I do on a regular basis, behind the scenes. So I would hate to inundate her to the point where we're running her off. Let's don't do that. So I think that I do agree with her that we're already, we pretty much tell everyone which ones are going to PSA next month at a meeting. I don't know if we publish that necessarily, just because I can't remember from month to month all of the stuff that we read. But it is a good idea, obviously, to have some feedback. I like it, but of course there have been times when it has been pretty harsh or there was one month where everything was harsh and that can be embarrassing to people. Of course, if everybody's getting harsh, then it shouldn't be embarrassing to me. It's like he's just a really hard grader, but it can be depending on, where you are. I mean, eventually you grow thick skin, right? And criticism or even constructive criticism early on can be hurtful, but eventually sometimes we get used to taking and absorbing it and going back and saying, well, maybe they were right and I can do something to fix this in the future.
Is it easier to have an
feedback.
opt-in and an opt-out if you don't?
Sorry,
want-
what?
Is it easier to have an opt-in or an out? That way there isn't that administration every month asking, are you okay with it or are you not okay with it? It's either you're willing to share or not. And I think it's kind of a personal decision regardless of how you feel about criticism.
Mhm.
Good idea.
Well, does it mean if you're going to opt in or opt out, you just don't participate in the color or the challenge?
No, as far as sharing the comments.
Oh,
I have found, and I'm not the best photographer on this board by any stretch of the imagination. I have found sometimes the photograph that I thought was my best work, well, my good work anyway, was not so well received by the judges, and something else that I worked on and submitted got a much better score. So I don't know what to say about opting in and out and all of that. It's certainly a whole lot more work. And I don't know what you do with the feedback if you weren't, would somebody have to send Albert his feedback and Sharon her feedback and Melissa her feedback? I can't imagine how that would work.
I mean, that's going to be like 30 separate emails.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't mind sharing. That was just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally, I guess I'm so old, it no longer matters to me what other people think.
Me
So
either.
I don't care if they read and find out that that wasn't a good picture I took. I mean, really, I learn from it. If they learn something, fine. If they don't, fine. I mean,
So was that someone specifically, Victor, that mentioned they didn't want their score and feedback shared?
No, well, I do have specific people, but it's
Okay.
like 6 different people
Okay.
make comments. Roughly, they didn't, it wasn't the same comment, but their comments was all in the general vicinity that they, as to why, basically it was, I was just trying to ask questions like, what would you like to see us do more of or less of? What do you like that we're doing? What do you don't like what we're doing? Okay, just kind of came up.
This is Suzanne. For myself, sometimes I like to read the feedback on the other images as a way to kind of gauge on different perspectives of how to improve myself.
Yeah, I agree.
agree.
Feedback is a gift. And yes, I don't always enjoy my own feedback, but I get value from reading the feedback on other people's photographs as well. That helps me become a better photographer too. I think trying to manage the hurt feelings is a tricky way to go. I think we need to be aware of that and respect that if people don't want to get the harsh feedback. But the feedback is really one way for us, not the only way, but it's one way for us to all become better photographers.
Right. And maybe maybe we need to communicate that more, that we need to communicate that it is a way to learn, and don't take it so seriously. I mean, I had to learn that too, because early on, if I got criticized, I was like, dang, I'm never going to win a competition, never going to win the monthly challenge. I'm not as good a photographer as everybody in this group when I first started. But I do feel like I have grown over the last 3 or 4 years. And I don't think I would have if I hadn't had some critique somewhere along the way. And also looking at other people's critique and go, oh, maybe this person that I thought was a fabulous photographer, they still had some kind of a critique where they had an opportunity to learn as well. And if we all look at it as an opportunity to, and continually communicate that, then people are going to learn not to let it hurt your feelings so bad. I mean, there's still going to be a time or two when you're not going to like what you hear, but it is an opinion and it's only one person's opinion. And as Sharon said, I don't feel like I'm that old, but I am old enough to, I don't care anymore. So, you know, I care enough that if it's something that I could do different and improve the photograph, then great. And if I feel like it was my really good work and they just didn't like it, I don't care about that.
So if we think about, we value the feedback, but we also don't want people to get hurt.
Right.
Would the best way to be for then people to just opt out of sending their photos into PSA for feedback?
Well, how do you do that though?
I would say just don't submit, period.
Right.
Just don't submit.
I do think we have, at least for me, I don't know until the meeting, and maybe I'm missing the email that would help me. I don't know which ones are going to be submitted until you know how many photos you get and you make a decision what's going to be submitted. At the beginning, I thought we were doing color 1 month and black and white 1 month, but then that sort of all just got lost.
Yeah.
And
We
I
still
don't
do that, Sharon. We still do that when we have more than 30 images total. And
I
we'll
agree.
go back to
I
what we
agree. I'm
submitted
just
for
saying
that
that
before.
people who are submitting their work
Right.
don't know if it's going to PSA or not.
That's true. You have to
That's
assume that
what-
all of your images that you submit will go. I think that's what the assumption we'll have to go under going forward.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're creating a whole lot of work for people, for somebody in this, on this board. I mean, you know, not me this year, but on this board or a volunteer, somebody on this board is going to be tasked with a huge amount of work to sort all that out.
Okay. So remember, I asked for the feedback, okay, not because I don't want anybody's feelings not to get hurt, okay, to see how we could increase participation, okay, because obviously I feel that participation has dropped, okay, because of the way that we're doing it now. And we're doing it exactly the way that I started it back in what, 2019?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've had time to run with it. I think right now, okay, based on the feedback that you've provided, the only change I'd like to move forward with, okay, is that we don't post the score, because you're right, people like feedback, okay. Probably what is hurting the participation is people don't like being embarrassed seeing, oh, they got a 3 or a 4. So let's don't post scores, okay, but we'll continue to put the feedback up, okay. And if anyone wants to know what a score was, okay, they can contact me and I'll tell them what the score was.
Some of us are going to want our score every month.
Well, that's fine. If you want it, we'll give it to you, okay. But I don't think it's something that we should post on Facebook. Okay. Obviously, we need, to continue to run and track photographer of the year the way we have. We need to score photos and track that, and keep up with the monthly images. And then if we're able to do any competitions this year, keep up with that. So we still need to submit photos and get them scored. But I don't think we need to publicize it club wide. Okay, and
That might be a piece of why people have stopped participating, but I really do think it's COVID related and
I agree.
I think it's more COVID related and Zoom related than it is anything else.
okay. Well, can we agree moving forward, just not to post the score for right now?
I don't agree personally, so I'm going to say no. I'm sorry. I think it's valuable information. And if people don't want their score, if they don't feel like it's the work is not good enough, then they shouldn't be submitting in the first place. So that's just my opinion. And I'm happy to go with what everybody says.
I like getting my score. I'm going to ask for it if I don't get it. So again, somebody's going to have a bunch of work to do for those of us who find
Right.
the score helpful.
I have a little bit of mixed feelings about it, but I also feel like in addition to the critique, the scores are valuable to us. I mean, how do you determine how, okay, if I get a 3 or if I get a 7, how do I determine where my work falls in that judge's opinion against my peers? This goes, to me, it goes back to the everybody gets a trophy thing that I've never agreed with. I mean, if I get a 3, okay, I get a 3, but I'd like to have a basis for how that person judged it. And you can't necessarily tell that with the critique.
Oh, well, it's the only way.
Right.
Okay, anybody else?
I'm good with leaving the scores and the critiques out there.
Yeah, I agree. This is Suzanne. I agree. I learned from the group scores.
This is Albert. I agree as well. And I think back to, I guess, Holly's point, if somebody is not willing to receive that feedback and score and doesn't want to share that, you know, they might participate later or not.
But they
And-
were doing it, right?
I have one more thing to say, and I want to say that I feel that this club does provide a positive environment in which to grow from, and even getting constructive criticism. You do have to process your feelings with that sometimes, but overall, I think this club does it well, and that we are supportive of each other.
Right. And once we're back into a live setting, I think it'd be easier to do that than it is on a Zoom meeting. But I really do feel like we need those scores and the critique in order for us to grow ourselves. And I think that if we communicate that, you know, this is part of our process and we do this so that we can grow, if you want to participate, great. And if you don't want to participate, that's great too.
You know, there is not anything on our website about the images going to PSA for judging monthly. So that's something that we could make a lot clearer.
Yeah.
And
That's
I'll
a
take
good
that
idea.
on writing up something and sending it to the board just to get an opinion on, and then we'll decide where it should go on the website. And we can also put it out in an email on Facebook.
Okay. Hey, Holly, are you keeping up with the meetup site?
Yes.
Okay, good. You may need to go in there and post meetups for 2022.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know how far I ran that out when I first started it.
No
Okay,
problem. I'll take a look at it.
and if it's still running, then you also need to go in and change the link to where click here and get the link to the Zoom meeting. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Speaking of the Zoom meeting, Victor, I don't know if it's, you were not here at the last meeting, but we got invaded by a bunch of little hackers. And so we have to, I think we're going to have to be careful how public we make that Zoom link. Or
Okay.
to set it so that everyone has to go to a waiting room and be admitted in, because we had to kick off completely and start a whole new meeting, because even logging back into that same meeting, they were still there and they took over our whole meeting and started showing inappropriate stuff on the screen.
I think
Okay.
the waiting room a lot easier.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do we need to upgrade Zoom to get that capability, or do we have it with what we're using now?
We have it with what we're using now. We're using my Zoom account with the photography school and studio. So I have that capability with my account.
Okay,
And we
so
should probably do that then, because it was really tough last month.
so that Victor, then that would include first a waiting room to only let in people we know are part of the club, and then second to hang up on certain people if we need to.
You could always, the moderator or whoever is the organizer can kick somebody off.
But we tried.
Well, if there's a
Like
waiting
6
room,
of
then
them.
they can't.
Yeah,
Yeah, if there's a waiting room, they can't get back in.
right.
So
The only
yeah,
tough part would be is if we have guests that we don't know,
Mhm.
Right.
but they have to
But I would-
pre-register, right? So you would have their name.
no, well, I think we can make that an option.
But even with the guests, I mean, you could trust whomever it is. And if obviously it's somebody with ill intent, you get them off.
Yeah, if
Because
you're
we
right.
had like 10 or I don't know, 5 or 6 all join all at once.
Yeah, they did. Last time it was 5 or
Yeah.
6 of them, and
It was more than that.
off, and they rejoined as fast as we could kick them off.
Mhm.
It was more than 5 or 6 though, wasn't it? More like 8 or 10?
It was a lot.
Yeah,
It was just-
probably.
It was a lot.
Yeah,
And in a waiting room, it would negate that.
yeah, exactly. We have to use the waiting room.
Okay, well, that's an easy fix. With the waiting room though, once we start the meeting, okay, it's gonna require, I guess we need to do a test and see if, because obviously if I'm sharing a screen where you're sharing the PowerPoint and going through the slides, and that's got my attention, I can't keep up with a waiting room, okay? Or seeing that, there's someone in the waiting room waiting to be admitted. So, Holly, that would probably require you to keep an eye on that.
I can do that.
Okay, so we have to test and make sure that, I know normally, I'll start the meeting and then everybody signs in. And then once Holly signs in, I take a moment to make her co-host so that she can do the recording. And I'm sure as co-host, all the other stuff is opened up to you as well. So you should be able to monitor the waiting room and see who's in it. And if they appear to be suspicious, I think there's a way for you to communicate with them before they actually are allowed access. So if they got some weird name that you don't recognize, I think you can right click on them and send them a message saying, please change your login so we know who you are.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at my hosting abilities right now. there are several options. So I can put someone in a waiting room, remove them and report them. So, and I can chat with them privately too. So yes, all of those things are possible.
Okay, great. All right. So I think that's a fix. And the January meeting will be a new link. Okay. And we won't post it on, we'll add the waiting room. I'll click that box in when I set up the Zoom. And then we'll also take the additional factor of posting it on Meetup or in Facebook, and only send the link out to our members, our registered members. And we'll let our registered members know if they have someone they want to share it with, they can, if they know of someone that wants to be a guest. Or should we just still go ahead and post it so that people that don't know a member can come? Because, you know, we've had success with that in the past. I mean, I know that right now, this is an isolated incident one time. So
It happened twice, but the first one was simple. It was easier resolved. This last one was just, they were experts at this stuff. So if you just put a waiting room on, I think you should be safe in posting it on our webpage or wherever you normally post it.
The link on our homepage of our website takes you to a registration page. And then you get an email from Victor with a link to the meeting. So I think is it okay to leave that registration link on our webpage?
we need to test it and see if it's still valid. That
Okay.
may have worked up till December.
Okay,
Okay.
we can do that later after this board meeting.
Okay. Okay, so we got a couple of steps we can take to try to improve the security of the meeting, and we'll move forward on that. So Holly, what's the next thing you got?
Well, before we move on to number 3, Dennis did want to do a PSA update for the February Interclub. Would that be a good time to do this now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, the deadline for the February Interclub competition is the 15th of February. So, you know, we're getting pretty close here, which means that we should have a selection committee by the end of January, and we're already into January. But before we do that, we've got to, the board has got to determine exactly what the criteria are for, you know, pictures to send there. And I'm just going to read you what we did last year and ask you whether that's, you know, what we want to do this year. Okay, we looked at all the images that got 9s from the monthly judging, and they were entered, and any others the selection committee thought we should consider, because we have a lot of photos that didn't get judged by PSA, plus any club members who wanted to submit something. And then, you know, I think at this point, probably the board ought to come up with people they think would be good for the selection committee and go out and ask them if they can volunteer so that we can get a selection committee put together in the next 2 weeks or so. So if you agree with those criteria for photos and, you know, coming up with a selection committee, that's kind of where we're at. Those are the 2 things we got to get done.
Okay, Dennis, I'd like to recommend to the board that we kind of reduce the workload in that process and only select images that have received a 9 from PSA in the past.
We go all the way back. So we did that for November. And so we've only had November and December since then. So we won't have very many 9s. We didn't get any 9s.
Yeah,
for December, so we won't have very many images for this round unless we go back, and we had 32, I think 32, 33 images for the November selections committee to look at. So we could look at the ones that weren't chosen.
right. Yeah, I think you should look at the ones that weren't chosen because we're not going to have very many. We didn't get any 9s in December.
But we go back further than November and December because the only criteria for PSA is that it never have been submitted to PSA for competition.
Yeah, okay, so what you're saying is we submit all of the pictures again, except call out those that we submitted.
Right. I mean, we know which ones we submitted in last year's competitions. And we had more, and let's see, there was 3 competitions. So at 6, we submitted 18 photos.
Yeah,
We had way more than 18 9s last year.
yeah,
Okay.
we did, but the selection committee has already looked at those, but that's because we don't have very many 9s, so I mean, we can do that.
Well, I'm saying we had more.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm saying we haven't had very many 9s in the last 2 months since
True.
November, yeah.
So to dig deeper into the archives and find those 9s that, you
We can
know,
do that.
at that time didn't make the cut in our opinion. Okay. But they're still from a PSA judge was worthy of a 9.
Right,
And let a selection committee choose from a bank of, I mean, I would think we could come up with 15 to 20 images that scored 9 that have not been sent to interclub competition
well, I'm
yet.
sure we can, yes.
Okay. So that means whatever we pick, all 6 photos will at least have been scored a 9 at one time.
Right,
We had like 59s last year.
yeah, I mean, there's,
I mean, 9s or plus. We had some higher than that, but those were competitions. So let's see.
You can't, anything that went to interclub can't go again.
All right. Okay. So hang on a second. Let me cull those out. Honorable mentions. Okay. Now let me see how many we have. We have 41 9s from last year.
Okay, well, I'd say that's our bank to work with. So the next, I wouldn't even go back out to the club and say, submit your photos. We've still got 40 photos to use moving forward. So I'd say that skip the step of reaching out to everybody and giving them a week or 2 to send us something to look at. The next step is to pick 2 or 3 people to select images out of that 40 something.
well, we
Now,
need
there
to
may
come
be
up
a
with-
little bit, I'm sorry, there may be a few less than 40 because I just called out the column where I had those awards, but they may have also been a 9 at the monthly challenge as well. So there may be a little bit of duplication, but it wouldn't be a whole lot, I wouldn't think. I can send you that spreadsheet. You probably already have all that anyway, though, don't you, Dennis?
I have, yeah, no, I have all of that, whatever, you know, we did last year plus what, well, it would be only November. Yeah, I have that.
If
Okay.
we did not send the color or the black and white for a particular month,
Well, that's the issue, you know, because there are lots of photos out there that didn't get judged. And I don't know whether, you know, maybe the committee go back and look at the photos, the monthly photos that were selected for photo of the month or photo of the year and see if there's something in there that's really outstanding that wasn't judged or something. That could be a possibility too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
The key is we got to come up with some members of a selection committee, and that's harder than coming up with photos sometimes.
okay. Well, I'll chair the committee. Okay.
Yeah, okay, good.
All right. So I would
But-
say we
Go
need
ahead.
at least 1 to 2 more people.
I
Okay.
don't mind volunteering again if you want me to.
Yeah, you should, I mean, we need good photographers that are on the selection committee, so.
Okay. And Dennis, you would be part of that process as well, right?
Yeah, I will be if you want me to be, but if there's some other really good photographer you want, that would be fine too.
Okay. Albert?
Yes, I'm here. I can join.
Okay,
Okay. Then we'll make the committee will consist of myself, Holly, and Albert. Okay.
Okay.
Dennis, what I need you to do is to pull together
yeah, I'll pull together the photos and get them to you people.
okay, yeah, and photos that did score 9 and photos that have not been to Interclub yet. Whatever that turns out to be, and we'll go through them, and we just have to find 6. And to be honest, if we have more than 18 photos, okay, then I'd say we have the number of photos we need for the rest of the year already.
Well, what we did last year is we sent all the photos out, and each one of the members of the committee picked their top 6.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the ones that actually we looked at when we, met with as a committee.
Okay, well, we can do that again. Okay, send them out. We'll do the top 6, and then whatever that number turns out to be is what we'll do the final selection out of.
Yeah, and I'll try to get that done. Problem we have is Sharon and I are leaving on Sunday and aren't going to be back for a week, and so we won't be at the club meeting on Monday night either.
Okay.
So I may not be able to get you those photos until whatever a week from Sunday or a week from Monday is. But if we have the committee meeting at, I don't know, the 30th of January or something, that's still plenty of time for me to get the photos to PSA.
Okay. All right. And we kind of jumped the gun a little bit on this. I guess first I need to ask, are you willing to serve as the PSA representative for 2022?
Yeah, I'm willing. That's fine.
That wasn't reassuring there, Dennis.
I'm sorry, what?
That wasn't very reassuring.
Oh, yeah, no.
So enthusiastic.
I got other stuff going on with PSA. I might as well be the PSA.
Well, we do appreciate your service.
Dennis, it sounded like he asked you if you wanted to go to the dentist.
No, it isn't. No.
All right. Okay. Sharon, I need to ask you a question. Based on the people that have renewed their membership, do you have an idea of how many PSA members we have?
Oh, probably 5 or 6. I'd have to count them up, but Beverly probably has a spreadsheet that shows, but
Okay, well, don't worry about it. Anything else you need to cover, Dennis?
Just one more thing. We have the judge for January is a guy named Michael McGuire, and I'm going to get more information and a bio from him and send it out to you. But we have 27 photos. So given all the discussion and stuff, do you want me to send all 27 photos to PSA?
Yeah, go ahead and send all 27 to PSA. And we'll continue we'll continue to do things as normal, and before we won't revisit this topic again till we start meeting in person again and then we'll look into see what we can do to get the participation numbers up.
Okay. All right.
All right. Holly?
Next on your list, number 3 was Digital Pro Lab.
Yeah, and that's Digital Pro Lab and Final Works, right?
Final Works was number 4, yes.
Okay. The one of the visions that I have for 2022, okay, is I would like to try to dedicate the year to involving more youth in photography. Okay. With that said, Melissa and I tried to support the Greater New Braunfels Art Council with a kids photography tournament for the fallen. Yeah, and it just didn't come to fruition because it was basically with the numbers of COVID going up and during that time frame, and see what else.
Can I say something about the youth thing?
Sure can.
A year or two ago, Jerry Kohler went out to some of the high schools and tried to interest the high schools in some sort of photography thing, joined with our club, because PSA has this program for high school photography groups that you can enter them into, and you know they put their photos on the website, and they do something at their national meeting for them that's kind of interesting. But he didn't get a whole lot of support from the teachers or anybody in the schools. So that would be a great thing, but I don't know whether it's possible or not, given his experience.
Okay, well, based on I think having interacted with the Art Council and how the Art Council has connections with art teachers in middle school and high school that oversee the photography aspect of that curriculum. Given enough lead time, I think we could get something going so that either before May, right before they get out of school, come up with a competition, or come up with something during the summer, or start the planning process now for fall into art and have the photo competition. But I just wanted to share with you that when Melissa and I first started to try to make that a reality, I went to Digital Pro Lab and told them what we were trying to do, and they said they were all behind it. Whatever we wanted, they would support it. Okay, so and then I wanted to share with our relationship with Final Works. We've had COVID. We haven't had a reason to interact with them for a while, but with one phone call and said, "Hey, we're having our end of year thing. Okay, would you be willing to support?" And not a problem. The next day, we had 4 gift certificates for $100 each. Okay, so there's still 2 real great sponsors, and we need to try to continue to support them as much as possible, but also know that they're willing to support us if we want to move forward with this kids photography thing. Okay, so at the January meeting, I want to announce to the open membership that we need a committee that would work to put together a photo competition of some type that would be open to middle school and high school, and then take that idea back to the art council and say, we can make it part of next year's fall into art if you want, okay? Or we could do it sooner and be a separate event, okay? Which would, the only thing that would do is move up a timetable for planning on us, okay? So that's something I wanted to do, and I wanted to share it with you, okay? So any thoughts?
The only thought I have, Victor, is I think it's a great idea. And I hope that there will be some people that are interested in doing that, but we did really struggle getting people to help us with it last year.
Yeah, you're right. So we'll just have to wait and see. I know, well, the only person I can remember that even volunteered to help with the kids thing was Suzanne. Okay. I felt bad about having to, whenever her and I would talk, say, well, it's kind of on hold right now, but we'll let you know when we're moving forward. And it seems
Right.
like at every turn, there was an obstacle we had to overcome or something. But there'll be a different board on the art council this year. So we'll just,
Yes, an entirely different board.
and we just have to take it to them and see how it floats. But I just want to say that if the board doesn't want to run with it and be part of it, and I'm saying the art council, I think we should still do something, and we'll figure that out. But it's going to take a committee to do some research and making some contacts, and then come back with a recommendation of whether or not it will be feasible for us to move forward on that. So,
Yeah.
okay.
The Arts Council is going to have an entirely different board, but I think that they don't start their year until May, maybe. It's
No.
it's different. It's not a annual year like we do, I don't think.
Well,
But
they'll be
pretty much-
meeting in January.
yes, but I don't think that they're not electing new board members yet. So it's the same board currently.
Right. Okay. All right. Do you know when the next meeting is?
No, but I need to email her and let her know that you are taking back over as president so that she'll get you back on her distribution.
Okay, that'd be great.
It's closer to the end of the month, I think,
Okay.
but I will email her.
Okay. Holly, what's next on the list?
Number 5 was the kids photography contest, which you just covered. So you're good.
Okay, super. Okay, let's go around the table.
Melissa?
Let's see. Just a reminder, I did get a couple of votes in while we were meeting, and I need a vote still from Beverly, and then we'll stay on for a minute after this, Victor, to get your vote.
Okay.
Okay.
Sharon and Dennis, do you guys have anything?
One question, or a question on photographer of the year, Eric Bowden. You're going to announce that at the meeting, so I won't be letting him know that until after next Monday's meeting. Is that correct?
Right, that's correct. None of these will be announced until Monday's meeting.
And then if you'd send me an email so that I can get a hold of anybody who's already paid their dues and refund their dues.
Okay.
reward.
Yeah, as soon as I get, we'll get the image of the year at the same time as we get the image of the month, and Holly will let us know about that. And then the photographer of the year, Eric, and I'll send you the other two as soon as that's final.
Thank you.
Beverly?
No, I don't think I've got anything.
Suzanne,
No, I don't have anything.
Frank,
I'm good. Thank you.
Albert?
I'm good as well, thank you.
Okay, and I don't think I have anything either. Great meeting, guys. And welcome Suzanne and Frank to the board. We're very grateful that you stepped up to volunteer this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having us.
And Melissa, I want to give you a heartfelt thank you for what you've done this year.
Yes,
Yes.
bravo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Tough year to manage the club.
In
But-
some ways, and in other ways, you know, it wasn't a very exciting year for the club, but that has to do with, it's kind of hard to be exciting when you're Zooming.
Yeah, and I think that's why people are more reluctant to speak up and give feedback or constructive criticism in the meetings, because you don't want to interrupt somebody or talk over somebody, or they might be embarrassed to be the spotlight. But I think it's harder to speak up on Zoom than it is in person.
Okay,
It's harder to feel like you know somebody too, I feel like.
Mhm. We have new members that we really haven't gotten to chat with, you know.
Right.
Yep.
so Holly, I think now is the time to end the recording. The meeting's officially